Stop crying, okay. Stop crying, please. Stop crying. Stop crying, please. Stop crying.
Breaking news. Nigerian Army dismisses 6 soldiers for alleged cowardice during Boko Haram attack. In a shocking move, the Nigerian Army has dismissed 6 soldiers from its ranks for allegedly fleeing from the scene of a Boko Haram attack in Borno State. The soldiers, who were part of the counterinsurgency operation in the northeast, known as Operation Lafia Dole, were said to have abandoned their posts during a fierce battle with the terrorists around Damboa, a community in Borno State. According to military sources, the attack resulted in the deaths of over 10 soldiers, with many more wounded. However, the Nigerian Army has yet to confirm the attack or acknowledge its own casualties. The 6 dismissed soldiers, identified as PT Olania Emmanuel, PT Masaudu Adamu, PT Abdul Aziz Saleh, PT Mohammed Mohammed, PT Ada Toye, and PT Hassan Abubakar, were accused of withdrawing from the war front without permission. But a source within the army has disputed the official account, claiming that the soldiers fled the battlefield after running out of ammunition during the fight with the terrorists. According to the source, the soldiers were not provided with sufficient arms and ammunition to fight Boko Haram, leading to a desperate situation where they had no choice but to retreat. This incident highlights the long-standing issue of inadequate equipment and firepower faced by Nigerian soldiers on the battlefield. Many soldiers have complained about being under-equipped to face the well-armed Boko Haram insurgents, leading to unnecessary casualties and deaths.
If army is ready, if Nigeria is ready to fight them, they should call us back. We'll fight those idiots. But we don't have enough weapon, enough adequate weapon to fight them. So we can't just be wasting our lives.
The source also blamed the death of those killed on poor firepower and inadequate equipment, saying Boko Haram successfully infiltrated our location and caused KIA and WIA. So, some of our colleagues fled during the battle and were all charged and dismissed for not retaliating. Well, the truth is, Nigeria as a country still has a very long way to go. Instead of holding the soldiers accountable, the federal government of Nigeria should take responsibility for its failure to empower the army to effectively combat terrorism. It is unacceptable to expect soldiers to fight a well-armed and ruthless enemy like Boko Haram without providing them with adequate equipment, ammunition, and training. The Nigerian Army has repeatedly complained about being under-equipped and underfunded, yet the government continues to ignore these pleas. Blaming the soldiers for fleeing is not only unfair, but also ignores the root cause of the problem. How can soldiers be expected to fight a war they are not equipped to win? The government's failure to provide the necessary resources has led to a situation where soldiers are forced to choose between their lives and a futile fight. Moreover, the government's decision to dismiss the soldiers instead of addressing the systemic issues that led to their flight is a clear indication of its priorities. It is more concerned with maintaining a semblance of control and authority than with actually addressing the problem of terrorism. In contrast, countries like the United States, United Kingdom, and France prioritize the welfare and equipment of their soldiers. They recognize that a well-equipped and well-trained army is essential to combating terrorism effectively. For instance, the US military has a budget of over $700 billion, which allows it to provide its soldiers with top-notch equipment and training. Similarly, the UK and France have also invested heavily in their militaries, recognizing the importance of a strong defense in the fight against terrorism. On the other hand, Nigeria's military budget is a fraction of that. And yet, the country expects its soldiers to fight a well-armed and ruthless enemy like Boko Haram with inadequate equipment and training. It's like sending a soldier into battle with a knife to fight an enemy with a gun. Rather than blaming the soldiers, the government should be asking itself why its military is unable to effectively combat Boko Haram. Is it due to a lack of resources, poor training, inadequate equipment? Until these questions are answered and addressed, the insurgency will continue to thrive. Furthermore, the government's actions send a dangerous message to the rest of the military. If soldiers are punished for fleeing from a battle they are not equipped to win, why would they stay and fight in the first place? This will only lead to more desertions and a further weakening of the military's ability to combat terrorism. In addition, the government's focus on punishing soldiers rather than addressing the root causes of the insurgency is a classic case of treating the symptoms rather than the disease. Boko Haram is a symptom of a larger problem: poverty, inequality, and lack of opportunities in the north. Until these issues are addressed, the insurgency will continue to find fertile ground to grow. Instead of punishing soldiers, the government should be focusing on winning the hearts and minds of the local population. This can be achieved through a combination of military and non-military strategies, including economic development, education, and social services. Moreover, the government needs to acknowledge that the war against Boko Haram is not just a military conflict, but also an ideological one. It requires a comprehensive approach that addresses the underlying narratives and beliefs that drive the insurgency. In addition, the government needs to recognize the sacrifices made by soldiers who have fought against Boko Haram. Dismissing them for fleeing is a slap in the face and a betrayal of their trust. It's time for the government to prioritize the welfare and well-being of its soldiers and provide them with the support they need to effectively combat terrorism. The federal government of Nigeria needs to take responsibility for its failures and start empowering the army to effectively combat terrorism. This includes providing adequate equipment, training, and funding, as well as addressing the root causes of the insurgency. Until then, blaming the soldiers for fleeing is nothing but a scapegoat for the government's own incompetence.